Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us to hear about Customer 360. We're very happy to have won the Spirit of Innovation Top Award last year. We've got a jam-packed event for you this morning. We're going to even give you a demo. I've got some special guests lined up to give their perspective on Customer 360. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Kennedy Porter's going to lead us through the deck, and Amanda Townsend's going to start and give us a background about 360. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. If you've ever spoken with a customer, you know it can be a challenge to find all the information you need to address their questions. Does this premise have solar? How do I know if this work order is in progress or is it past due? How many power outages have they had? Who do I contact if I have a question about it? These are all questions that Customer 360 is designed to answer. So our team came together with a goal of creating a way to look at a customer premise holistically. By bringing together data from multiple areas and unifying it visually, it creates an easier conversation and a better customer experience. So during this presentation, you'll meet a few of the team members, discover our journey, and see Customer 360 in action. Back over to you, Josh.
Thank you. Kennedy, next slide, please. Okay, here's some Customer 360 fun facts you may not be aware of. Customer 360 actually started out as an advanced analytic project a couple of years ago. We aren't the only utility who's doing Customer 360. There are many who are, not just in utilities, but in other industries as well. A fun fact about our version of Customer 360 is we actually used it to write the book on Customer 360 for utilities. A few of us are engaged in AEIC. Chris Herndon and I wrote a white paper with a few other utilities on Customer 360. We are a little bit different of a utility, of course, because we're not fully integrated. Many other utilities focused in on their true version of a customer as it relates to payments and payment processing, that kind of thing. Of course, our version of a customer is a little bit different here at Encore. We treat our customers extremely well, in my opinion, and we treat customers in Customer 360 as the premise, not the individual customers themselves. We knew that there would be a need to have the data that would be combined across disparate data sources that would be used in analytics programs and processes for a long time to come. So we built the Customer 360 in a very agile manner to allow us to expand its use over time. But in order for us to get started, we really felt like we needed to really learn about our customers and how those customer-facing resources at Encore really interact with our customers. So the development team went down to Waco for a couple of days, and we sat with our customer service reps and really got to learn how that customer interaction at Encore on a face-to-face basis really occurs. We took that information and built it into our platform in a very iterative process. So like I said, it's an agile development methodology. We continue to release on a consistent basis to this day. About every 3 or 4 weeks, we'll develop and release new functionality and release it to the platform. We don't take any downtime. Customer 360 is always up and it's always improving. I would like to, at this point, turn it over to Mr. Matt Kirk to give us some more detail on some of the problems that we're starting to solve with Customer 360. Matt?
Thanks, Josh. As Josh said, in the contact center in Waco and El Paso, C360 has been a game changer for us. And recently, we've been able to focus on, some key areas of opportunity that our customers are facing, and how can C360 help our agents to be able to better support our customers. One is vegetation management. For a very long time, our agents have not had the visibility to see at the premise level when an area might experience routine tree trimming. So with C360, using the data that's already there, for the first time, we are able to share with the customers that we will be doing tree trimming in their area within the next 2 weeks, which is a pretty set schedule, or over the next 3 months, which can be impacted like storms that we saw a few weeks back. This is making for a better customer experience. This is a common call type that we do receive that we're able to help with. I think Kennedy's going to show some of the solar portions in just a bit, but our solar customers, through their journey, they're dealing with independent installers, and so when it comes time to install their equipment and to get things matched over into our systems, they do reach out to us. So now our agents and any user are able to see the solar journey, being able to quickly answer questions like, has my meter been reprogrammed? Has my load profile changed? Has my application been accepted and approved? We're able to give that answer right at that moment using C360. Another one, and it's one of our top call drivers, is temporary disconnect and reconnect. So for customers that submit their order through their retailer, if they're an option one, if they have an option one rep, or if they submit it through Encore, we submit the order, and that goes to a DSA generally for scheduling. In our metro area now, we're able to connect through C360 to a back-end calendar. So we're not able to just say, yes, the order's been submitted. We're able to see when it's submitted, what the arrival window of that technician would be for that disconnect or that reconnect. This is helping us to better able to answer questions and to be able to give customers answers without having to engage other Encore personnel to help with that. The other piece is valued business customers. We have been able to tie C360 to specific accounts that are small, medium business, very important accounts to Encore. They're not large enough to have to be marked as LCI or managed by an account manager, but we want to give them a differentiated experience. So C360 is able to look at the data in the back end, see if an account or if a premise meets the conditions to be a small, medium business, valued business customer, and it actually goes to a specialized team who offer specialized processes to create a differentiated experience for those customers. Those are four main things that we've been able to really accomplish the last quarter of 2020 to address key issues for our customers. The other thing that we've been able to accomplish with C360 is an improved quality compliance. We do look at a lot of different things, but the customer journey is told in a chronological list, so you're able to see the premise notes, the outages, the orders, the market messages, all in the order that they were received, which really tells a unique story, and it helps us to better support our customers. We also have premise note templates that make it easier for users to consistently leave good notes on the account. It also allows us to see the directory. So we're able to see all of the individuals who are associated to that premise, whether it be the correct DSA, the correct utility designer, the correct service center contacts. And this helps us to better serve our customers as well. One of the great things that we've seen is a significant improvement in the time to train a new hire. So C360 has actually helped us shave off a week of new hire training. Agents that come in through our contact center are taking calls on their 6th day of employment. And so that is a full 5 days that this has helped to shave off. So it's been a game changer for us for sure.
All right, with that, thank you, Matt. We would now like to turn it over to Kennedy for a quick demo of Customer 360.
Absolutely. Customer 360 is a Encore internal application. It is located at c360.corp.encore.com. It is open to people all across in a bunch of different business units here at Encore. It's not just a customer contact center. It is being used by a bunch of different groups, even in revenue management. Sometimes the docs use it even to work storms like we saw these last couple of weeks. So it is a pretty readily available and open application to different groups across Encore. But like we mentioned, Josh mentioned early on, we did go down and sit with the contact center in Waco to actually help us build a tool for them that really put their needs put their needs first. With that, you can see that here, even in the search page, when you do go to Customer 360, we do offer 4 different ways for you to search for premise in Customer 360. And they're actually in order of the most common search types for premises in Customer 360. So you can search by phone, address, easy location, and meter. For purposes of the demo today, I will be using Easy ID. So it's very easy. You just have to put in the 10-digit Easy ID. And hopefully I remembered to put in the correct one. And as you can see here, I put in the Easy ID, went ahead and pulled up the dashboard view of this premise. Looks like I'm looking at the city of Hutchins, one of their facilities here. Like Matt mentioned, we can already see right here up front that this is one of our valued business customers. You can see that first thing, know that we're going to offer them a differentiated service just because we can see that they're one of those VBCs. On this premise overview page, you really get a first glance at important information about the premise. This includes what type of premise it is, small, non-residential, their meter number, their service account, how many service points they have, the remote reads, whether they're in city limits, out of city limits, and then of course, if they have any sort of flags on their account, that's really easy for a contact center agent to see right up front. Most importantly here on this account, you can go ahead and see that this customer is a critical load account, which is very important. And they're also greater than 10 kW. There's a bunch of other flags here. We can know when a customer needs a city inspection, when a city inspection's been posted, when a customer's been disconnected for non-pay, whether they've been disconnected for reconnect. We have almost over 10 flags here that we can use to really see what kind of state a customer account is in. On this page, we also have outage information. So if a customer was facing an outage, we would get a lot of information at first glance about that outage the customer is calling about. So that would be information about crew dispatch status, what their e-tour is, what the time the first call was, the time to their estimated restoration time, and different items like that, what kind of event it was, and those kind of items. But we can also see here, this customer seems to have their power. There's no impact. But if we did have a question about that, we could, or see what kind of outages they've had in the past, we could do a premise run back here. And of course, the ability to also go and report an outage for a customer is available here as well. A customer can report a bunch of different kinds of, customer contact center agent can report a couple different kind of outages here as a customer calls in to report an outage. On this dashboard page as well, we can see frequent contacts. So these are all the important contacts, the top 5 or 4 important contacts that a contact center agent normally needs to use or refer to when taking certain calls for customers. So we can get their information about the retail electric provider, what their outage options are, what their service order options are, the information for their utility designer, their DSA, and then of course also what dock this customer premise is assigned to. Here in the 30-day contact history, we can actually also see here that this customer did have a temporary disconnect and reconnect scheduled. This is something that Matt just touched on in those top 6 items as well. If you click on it, we get some information that he's mentioned. We'll know what that technician arrival window is, what that planned finish is, what the contact information is. If there were any flags on this, so a customer actually needed to get a city inspection, for this TDTR, that information could be provided here as well. And of course, when whoever went and placed the order, if they left any remarks or needed to add any remarks, we do that and get that information as well. Of course, with the TDTR, we can also see here we have their temporary disconnect request and their temporary reconnect request and work requests, and we can actually see where in the process of those items being worked are. So we have this nice tracker for work requests. We can see if there's going to be a cost incurred because of it, if there were any remarks, creation instructions, and when the work request was wanted by, and when we're expecting it to be scheduled and completed by. Of course, here, looks like this customer also called in early on in February about an outage. And you can also see that here that looks like a contact center agent actually took a question, an outage inquiry call for the city of Hutchins, and advise them of the current e-tour. I'm going to switch over to another account now to show you some of the VM items that Matt was mentioning as well. So one moment. Awesome. So as you can see here, a few things did change when I pulled up this premise. As you can already see, this is not a valued business customer. This is a residential account. So you can see here that this is residential. You know, it's changed. That's no longer a small, medium business premise like that one previous was. This customer also is not in city limits. So we can see that information here as well. Like Matt mentioned, we also now can see if a customer is scheduled for any time of routine vegetation management. So it looks like at this customer's premise, a routine tree trimming is planned in the area in the next 2 weeks. Of course, if they're not on any type of schedule, we do take that information off the dashboard. It only shows up, relevant information only shows up to relevant premises, which is really helpful because we're not cluttering the dashboard. Everything that's relevant to a customer is right there on the dashboard. And if it's not relevant, it's not there at all. I know I just walked through 30-day contact history on the last premise, but something that's really cool, and Matt kind of touched this on the easiness of the flow of a customer's contact, being able to see chronologically how we've served the customer or how the customer has contacted Encore. As you can see here, we do actually have integration with our social media management tool, Sprinkler. We can see that this customer actually contacted us on Twitter on the 26th of February. During this conversation, you can actually see, if I were to pull it up, back and forth the comments between Encore and the customer on Twitter. And at one point during the conversation, the contact center agent on Twitter says, we'd be more than happy to get a DSA out there to take a look at your situation. They can go ahead and read through that, see that. And as you can see here, the customer contact center agent did actually go put in the work request for a DSA to go out there, work that event. And then later, the contact center agent also took a call from this customer who was questioning their outage one more time. So it is really cool because you do get to see in a chronological order how the contact center agent had made contact with the customer during using different forms of communication here at Encore, and how that actually, how we have worked to help the customer through some of those items. Really quick, as we run through here, there's a lot of information here on the dashboard page, but there's also a lot of really good information here. We do have contact information for the customer that we pull into Customer 360. We can get historical information about how the customer has contacted Encore in the last year, and then we see that here as well. We can also see all of the different outages that a customer has had in the last year, and provide information about what those outages were, what kind of cause they were if we have that information, and provide that to the customer as well. We do provide customer usage information on a 5-year look back, along with a different view here where you can see 3 months at a time for the last 5 years and do a comparison for the customer's usage. We also get their billing information, have the ability to see a customer's tariff, and what all those TDSP charges or other charges that a customer might have incurred, and a good explanation of what those charges are on that customer's bill. The final thing that I am going to jump over here to show is the solar feature that Matt had mentioned. We were able to get a solar page built in here. First and foremost, we can already see customer here, and they are a complex account. They are a DRG customer, so we know that there's going to be some sort of solar associated with this account. If we go to the solar communications page here, we do actually get a overview of that customer's journey with Encore to get their solar approval and applications and all of that through approval. You can see the tracker here of when a customer got their interconnection approved, their meter reprogramming. We do also provide them with an estimated time frame when the customer can expect to see credits on their bill. So for this customer, it looks like credits were available starting last month, just based on the timeline of when their interconnection was approved and when their meter reprogramming. We can also see the market messages for their monthly final usage that we extend to their retail electric provider. And then we also have this nice usage and surplus generation graph. So as you can see here, we can see what they're using and what they're generating. And that really helps to answer some questions when a customer asks, how come my solar might not be taking off all of my bill, my credits might not be as much as they think they're going to be, in those kind of items that we can actually visually see their surplus generation versus usage and be able to answer those questions. So I know that was really fast. If there's any more questions about certain functionalities, we can definitely take those during the Q&A. But I'm actually going to stop sharing this and pass it back over to Josh to introduce our panelists for our Customer 360 panel.
Awesome. Thank you, Kennedy. We thought it would be a fun little exercise to bring in some folks outside of the contact center who use Customer 360 fans, if you will, and have them just give us some examples of how they're using Customer 360 and how it's made impacts on their day-to-day. We've invited Debbie. She was unable to join us this morning. She did send along a note. I would like to read that really quick. And she says, thanks to you and the team for this amazing tool. It has enabled me personally to be proactive helping our customers. We used to have to call someone else, and now we have the information in the majority of the time, and I'm able to respond without further follow-up. I think Customer 360 enables each and every one of us to be there for our customers and build our personal brand as employees who care about our customers. Thank you, Debbie. We've also invited Tom Trimble and Susan White to join us on the panel. Tom, let's start with you, and I've been excited about having you join the panel since you were called out on the Senate floor last week as a big Alan Nye fan. So, Tom, let's start with you. Just a quick question. First, how did you come to learn about Customer 360?
Chris Herndon, actually. I was working with him on some other projects, and he was telling me about it. And I think it wasn't released yet when he was telling me about it, and it just started. My mind started running on oh my gosh, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And once we were able to start using it, I realized it was the greatest thing ever. It absolutely has changed my world. I've been able to do a bunch of things. For instance, the other night I was at a dinner. One of my friends came up to me. His mom lives in Temple, and said, my mom is still without power. This is Tuesday after the week of storms. And I said, gosh, dog, I need to call Carl Green and let him know what's going on, see if he can check on it. I said, but let me pull this. I have my cell phone with me. I was VPN'd in, and I pulled up Customer 360, and I pinged her meter, and it pinged on. And I said, she's got power. So you might want to get your brother over there to check to see if the main breaker. And so he went over there, switched the main breaker, power's on. And so it was one of those instances where if I didn't have that ability to do that real quick, it blew his mind, first off. And it kind of blew my mind as well, that I could just in a restaurant just ping a meter like that. So I use it for that all the time. I use it a bunch of my towns out here. I've got 23 communities that I look after. They call me all the time. By the way, the VM management that's on there now, I love you guys for that right now. I absolutely love y'all, because that is one of the biggest questions I get is, why are they not trimming my trees? We are completely opposite than most everybody in our service territory. Our customers desperately want us to trim trees because that's our biggest problem out here. But I've got some that are just realizing they're SECO compliant. And so State Environmental Conservation Office has them answer a lot of questions. So I use 360 when we were down at home over COVID. I had a little bit of downtime last year, and I created spreadsheets, and I almost solely used the Customer 360 to create these spreadsheets and quick reference guides for all my cities, their accounts, what our description was versus their description. I was able to share some of those with our city administrators, and it has been a huge plus for me, because it has created kind of a dialogue between us on what's important to them and what's not. And it really did help me out during the winter storms, because I was able to reference that and 360 while answering their questions. And it's been a game changer for me.
Awesome. That's good to hear, Tom, and thanks for joining us today. Let's go over to Susan White. Susan, can you tell us your favorite thing about Customer 360 and maybe give us a success story as well?
Yes, so I absolutely love C360. I'm actually working with Chris Herndon right now on a cross meter improvement process. Well, we all know how big of a pain cross meters can be, all the way from entering information on spreadsheets to how do we interpret how this person meant the information in the field. So our project is actually going to help us to be able to communicate information back and forth from the DSA to the customer and resolve these cross meter issues without taking 30 and 60 days. We also will be able to prevent, by miskeying stuff in or not entering the right numbers. C360 will actually move all the information for us. My favorite thing about 360 probably though is the fact that we can see the customer's account from the Google map. So we're not sending a truck out just to verify if it's a residential or commercial account. We can actually see that and resolve that customer issue right there. And what was your last question? Sorry.
I think you hit them both.
Okay, perfect.
I really appreciate it. Just one more question for the both of you. I know we're running a little bit short on time. Do you think Customer 360 was difficult to learn? Did you need a bunch of training? Tom, let's start with you.
Well, I'm an East Texas boy and an Aggie, so I need very simple things. And it was extremely easy. And I didn't mention that earlier, but the ease of use has really been helpful for me because CC&B, it's got a ton of information and it's simple to use once you've gone through the training. But you can open this up and just boom, you're doing everything right there. The ability to put in a phone number for customers, because a lot of times when I'm out and they approach me about a problem with their account, sometimes the addresses don't match up, but phone numbers are easy, and so that's been really nice for me.
Awesome. What about you, Susan?
No, I absolutely thought 360 was the easiest thing for me to use. It actually reminds me a lot of the new apps on phones. If you don't like the way it's titled, you can use an emoji. So when we were customizing this for our group, we would color code stuff. And of course, like for residential, how it has a home. So I think it's very easy to paint pictures, even with graphs, which is easy to see things instead of having to go through and scroll and read through different usage patterns. It's been tremendous, and we can't wait to actually start using it.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us. And I'm a North Texas guy and an Aggie, and it's got to be easy for me. So that was one of our absolute critical piece of functionality was it's got to be easy for us to use. So again, thank you both for joining us this morning. Let's continue on with the presentation. Chris, I think you're up next.
Yeah, so one of the things we wanted to do is just, as Josh alluded to, this is originally started out as an analytics project, and this is an agile project. And so we're constantly looking for new ways to improve the experience for our customers using Customer 360. And for those of us who are really focused on analytics, we want to move to a place where we're able to be more proactive on identifying issues for our contact center agents based on all the data that we've gathered. And it was always the goal of this project to really change the conversation in our contact center and make it easier for our agents to really find those issues that are going on for a customer and address them quickly. And as Susan alluded to, one of the biggest challenges in our organization as far as dealing with an issue is cross meters. When we look at the data, there were about 5,000 cross meter orders submitted in the year 2020, but it's a very difficult process for us to manage across the organization. It touches so many different teams, from field resources and DSAs who are validating these for our billing team. It's a huge challenge to gather the data needed and to do the rebills on these cross meters, but it's also very difficult for our contact center agents to identify when this occurs. So, cross meter call usually comes into the contact center as somebody who's lost power, and when we look at our systems, we don't see any indication that power outages actually occurred. And so, one of the things we want to do is if we can, the sooner that we can identify these issues, the better we are as far as making this right for our customers. And so we're working right now on identifying the key data elements that would help us to understand that a cross metering has potentially occurred. So if the customer is calling in and saying that they've lost power, one of the things we'll be able to do is look at locations in the area and see if we've recently executed a disconnect for a non-pay or attempt disconnect type order or a move out, and potentially identify that this could be a cross metering issue. And what we want to do is proactively pop that information to the agents. And this is just the first in a series of ideas that we have about how we can take all of this data that we're gathering from these disparate systems and organizing and use that to understand what's happening at the customer's location and give an additional intelligence to users about some potential issues that could be going on based on the data that we see. So cross meters is the first one, but by no means the last. There's a whole line of these types of things that we want to do to really turn this into a tool that helps you understand very quickly potentially what's going on at the customer's location without having to do that deep digging and data investigation in order to come to that conclusion. And I think it's going to make our users smarter and help you resolve customer issues much faster.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. I think we're towards the end of our presentation. We're definitely open to taking some Q&A from the audience. I think you need to use the Q&A functionality in WebEx. There should be a link at the bottom of your page there. We do have a couple of questions that have come in already. First one is the source of information we get from PowerHub connected to where this information is accumulated. The answer to that is yes. We actually have a method where we keep our data at rest if it makes sense to keep it at rest. The Customer 360 doesn't ingest any data into it. It's just kind of a wrapper that collects information from various data sources and presents it in a unified manner. So yeah, the way that we access data through PowerHub, through Customer 360, through the My Encore app, through Powered by Encore is all very similar in its technology approach, and the data stays at rest where it makes sense to keep it at rest.
Yeah, Dina, one of the things that I would add is we have a regular sync with the mobility teams. So as we build new application interfaces to get data, that's something that we're working with those groups and they become aware of. So we definitely worked very closely with the My Encore team to make sure that the information that we're providing is consistent and the mobility folks know what data that we're accessing. And as we do new things, they have access to that information as well.
Yep, sounds good. Next question, do we keep this information by person or by premise or both? And the answer is we keep it by premise. So we want to track the history of each premise past the move out, move in points in time as well. Let's see, there's a couple of questions about how do I get access to Customer 360? Really good question. Anybody can get access to Customer 360. We have a group in PAM that you need to request. We actually piggyback on the CCB Global Read Only group in PAM. But once you've got access to that group in PAM, you'll have access to Customer 360. Let me keep scrolling here. Dina says, this is fascinating. Y'all are so smart. Thank you very much, Dina. Flattery will normally get you nowhere, but with this group, it'll get you everywhere. And lots of compliments for Tom, of course. So if y'all have any more questions, please let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to start asking some more questions to Tom and Susan. Let me go do that real quick. Just what is your favorite feature? If you could name one of Customer 360, what would it be? Susan, you're up.
Mine would definitely be the graphs or the fact that we can see the Google map as a location. Like I said earlier, the rates are a big deal for revenue management. We're accurately billing the customer, and we get a lot of rate issues. So we roll trucks and DSAs all the time to make sure that we're billing a commercial account correctly, a residential. Being able to see that right there on the main screen without Google search or send a track saves time for everyone. And of course, prevents billing errors.
Fantastic. What about you, Tom? Your favorite 360 feature? Name one.
I would say it's hard for me, but the dashboard in general, the fact that I can pull up a premise and I can see just about everything I want to see on one page and be able to answer questions like that. The ability to pull it up on my phone as well. All you got to do is download the Google Chrome app, and then boom, you're able to pull it up really easily. I've got it saved. I've changed the Google Chrome to C360, the name of it, but it's just fantastic. The ability to easily see everything you need to see on one page. I don't know. VM might change that for me because I get that question so much. But that, I would say the dashboard in general, usage and outage histories are great. I take that back. One of the things I really do like is the ability to click the run back and get a good premise run back too, that I can look, for years back and look at. So I do like that one as well. Really everything. I'm not gonna lie to you. Really, just about everything on there I like.
Thanks, Tom. Another question came in. Carlos asked, I'm searching for Customer 360 in PAM, but nothing shows up. That's correct. It is a little confusing at this point. You need to request the global CCB read-only group in PAM. Drake McLemore chimed in and he says ease of use is his favorite feature. So thank you, Drake. Jennifer Mitchell, are there any training requirements that we need to meet in order to share these details with customers? I would say yes. If you look at, we did a training, what was it, last year, Chris? I can't remember, where we had training in the learning management system about customer interaction. I would say, yeah, make sure that you're well versed in that training before we start interacting with customers if you're doing that. Point them through PowerHub if you can in those cases. Drake also asked, if you have access to CCB, do you already have access to 360? The answer is yes there. Okay, we are just about out of time. I want to first thank the project team. I couldn't have a better team than everybody that's engaged on this project. There are so many people from our technology organization through our Amanda and Matt's group, Customer Contact Center, our DSAs. There's so many people who have a passion for customer service who have really been engaged in this project and continue to be engaged. And I can't thank you all enough for that. I'm really happy that we were able to win the award last year. I think this is a really good example of agile development and a lot of cross-functional core teams coming together to build something that makes a real impact to our customer. So unless anybody has any questions, we're 1 minute out. Christine, I don't know if you wanted to wrap it up, but I think that we're good from our end.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining us during Innovation Week. I hope our viewers today have enjoyed this content. We really wanted to bring all of our teams together to show the rest of Encore what everyone is working on. We hope you found this insightful. All of our sessions this week are pre-recorded, so if our teammates that are out in the field or can't make it live, we will record these sessions for them to watch on demand at a later time. If you have any questions, please email us at pods@encore.com. Thank you so much, and you guys stay safe.